Hello and welcome again to Piedmont Business Live. I'm your host, Ken Morris, and today we're talking to Nathan Tabor. Nathan is a consultant, coach, speaker, and author. Did I cover it all?
Most of it.
Most of it. Well, tell us a bit more.
And everything my wife telels me to do.
But
I don't put that in there because it's just kind of it's understood, right?
I got you. Absolutely. It's the same thing for me. Well, tell me, Nathan, what type of business are you in? I understand you deal in apartments.
So I deal in apartments. I also, over the years, I've had 25 businesses since 1999.
Wow.
Ranging from nutraceutical, soy products, to websites, used cars, consulting with Ministry of Tourism for the State of Israel, down to a local mom and pop. One of my main focuses is helping people to learn how to fix and flip apartment complexes. So over the last 10 years, I have bought, renovated, and sold 26 complexes. Wow.
And all of this business experience that you've had, I'm sure really helps a lot in that respect.
Very much so. The successes are good, but I've obviously, for me, I've learned more off my failures. And over time, I went back and started looking that I was making kind of the same mistakes and getting the same results. And I started saying, hey, I need this, what's causing this?
Right.
And really digging into that. And then when I started doing that, I started talking to others who, they were kind of having the same thing. So then I was like, well, maybe I can take, my success, but I just taught a class in California on Saturday to about 130 people. And I laugh at the beginning. I said, I'm going to tell you what I've done that's been good, but I'm going to spend 90% of the time telling you what I made a mistake or failed, so you can hopefully avoid it.
And in my experience, and I'm sure for a lot of people, those mistakes that you make are the greatest learning opportunities for us.
Oh, absolutely. And most of the time, they're small things. They're the small detail. You get 9.8 out of 10 things right, but that little smidge costs you either money or time, right, stress, or the combination of all three.
Gotcha. So I've seen a lot of TV shows about flipping houses, flipping property, and that sort of thing, and it seems to be a very popular type of show. So there's obviously a market out there for it. Can anyone really do this?
I mean, they can. It takes being able to go in and judge the risk versus the reward.
Right.
Anyone who just goes out and buys a house or buys an apartment and hasn't thought through the steps of the process, what's it going to take, how long is it going to take, who's going to do the work, you might get into trouble in that.
Right.
But anyone who sits down and looks at, hey, I'm going to either flip a house or a duplex or a quadplex or a 50-unit complex, as long as they follow the laws of process, the laws of business, yes, anyone can be involved in flipping real estate.
So what makes your system different from others that do this?
So mine is different because I'm not a house flipper, so I'm not doing the one unit. I've done 12 units up to 121 units. My sweet spot was the 30, 40, 50, 60 units. And so when you start looking at that number, it's like 30, 40, 50 houses, because you're renovating the inside, you're renovating the outside. How do you run your due diligence? How do you know what to offer for the property? If they're asking $1 million for it, is it worth that if you had to put $500,000 in renovations in it? Gotcha. So it really becomes a numbers game. It becomes a due diligence game. And then what can you sell it for afterwards, which is, again, the number game. So basically, I've developed a system over the years that I used internally. How do you know what to pay for the property? How are you going to renovate it? Who's going to help you renovate it? And especially in the state of North Carolina, as with any state, if you don't know, you have to have a licensed general contractor if you spend over $30,000 a door. Well, if you don't figure in what that contractor wants to be paid, your budget's going to increase 10, 15, 20% maybe 30%, depending on what the licensed contractor wants to be paid.
And you can get in trouble real quick that way.
And you can also get fined, get your job shut down.
Wow.
In the state of North Carolina, if you replace a toilet, you break the seal, you're technically supposed to get a licensed plumber to pull a permit to replace that toilet.
Wow.
Now, most people don't do that in their home.
Right.
Weekend warrior, do it yourself. But if you're out on a job replacing 30, 40, 50 toilets, and you get caught, you don't mean to do it,
right?
But you don't know, or they're not going to take "I don't know" as an excuse.
Exactly. And I can imagine too, when you're dealing with apartment complexes, and as you say, you've got not just this one unit like a house, but now you've got essentially 30, 40, 50 houses in that respect. It would be real easy to make so many mistakes if you really don't know what you're doing. And so someone like you kind of helps uncover the things that you got to know to keep from getting in trouble.
Right. Because on one, if you make a mistake, it's 1 times the amount.
Right.
If you're in a 30-unit complex and you make a mistake, it's 30 times that amount.
Wow.
So it can add up. But the benefit also, on the flip side, if you're doing a single house and you're renting it, you're either collecting 100% of your rent or you're not collecting anything at all. But as in an apartment complex, if you have 30 units, you have 30 chances, 30 opportunities to collect money.
Right.
And on most deals, if you're running about 50 to 60% occupied, you have enough cash flow to at least pay your expenses, right, so you're not having to pay it out of your pocket. So there are some greater pros to flipping apartments than flipping houses as well.
So what traits do you see in people that make them the best flippers?
Those who are organized.
I can imagine that's extremely
And
important.
that was probably one of my greatest weaknesses when I started out, was just flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Which small business owners have a tendency to do.
Yeah.
Because we've got so much going on, to sit down and actually put it down into writing or an Excel
right,
sheet or a QuickBooks or whatever program is like, oh, I don't have time to do that. But when you get into 30 countertops, 30 cabinets, 30, whatever the multiplication is, if you don't have some system that keeps you organized, right, materials walk off, things don't get done in
right,
a timely manner, and you start having to pay, more back to the bank because you've not hit your time. I mean, so there's the organization, to me, is the key in any business, but right, especially in the flipping apartment business.
And organization helps you to work more efficiently. Everybody knows the old phrase, time is money, and if you're wasting a lot of time, you're going to be losing a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So now you speak openly about having successes and failures, and we talked about the failures piece a little while ago. How do you work this into your training?
So in the training, really get into, do kind of case studies, look at a complex and say, okay, here's a complex I purchased. After I closed on it, I found out that if a meter is missing for more than a year, you have to have a licensed contractor pull a permit and verify that the electrical is in good condition. Well, then if it's not, you might have to rewire the entire unit, which is $3,000 roughly, and you might have to put a new meter pack on the back, which could be $200 to $2,500.
Wow.
So, again, one time versus buy a complex that's 28 units and find out that all 28 meters in the back are bad is not a good place to be.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But fortunately, I had learned that lesson before, so, go in and say, okay, in this complex before you buy, you make sure you call Duke or a licensed electrician to come out and verify all the meters.
Right.
And so that comes into, you spend a little bit of money up front to ensure your investment in the long run.
Yeah. And building codes change very frequently. What might have been acceptable when the unit was built may not be acceptable now if you are renovating or upgrading.
Well, and just little kind of nuggets, as I guess what I would call, if you're getting ready to do a real estate deal or any business with a partner, you better have it in writing.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting out and there's no money or there's no problem, there's no issue.
Right.
But as soon as there's money that needs to be put in or money to take out, sometimes you can get into, even with best friends, with family, you can get into a really precarious situation. But if you have it in writing, where this is mine, this is yours, this is my responsibility, this is your responsibilities, and both have signed it, then you can fall back on the written document.
It eliminates a lot of problems before they begin.
Eliminates a lot of problems.
So there are a lot of people out there that, and I think most people go through this. You're at a point in your life, maybe I want to make a change, I want to do something else, not sure what I want to do, but I want to do more, better in my life.
Right.
What advice would you give them?
So, we hear this is that how do you find that financial freedom, or how do you find the balance in your life? There's, the 30-minute infomercials on late night TV, right? Well, there's 2 or 3 ways in that, but getting your finances in order to where what you're bringing in is more than what you're spending, right, is a good step.
Yeah, I would say
the good
so.
First step. The second is creating, different sources of income. And real estate has always been kind of a fallback. There are people who do it full time, but the majority of real estate investors have a full-time job that they're doing real estate on the side or the weekends to create additional revenue or income.
Gotcha.
And the reason I started teaching apartments is if you're looking for that financial freedom, whether you're going to flip it or flip it into your own another LLC, so buy it low, renovate it, and then put it into another long-term bank note. If you have the ability to, again, have one cash flow versus 10
right,
or 12 or 20, why not go, because sometimes it can be the same amount of money.
right,
Same amount of time, same amount of risk. Well, if I can show someone that they can take that same money, same time, but spread their risk out, why not?
Why not? Makes sense.
Makes
a lot of
sense.
So where do people go when they want to learn more about you and what you offer?
So they can go to nathantabor.com.
Okay.
And that's NATHANTAB as in boy, OR.com. There's a button there about learning how to flip apartments. But then I work with people on finding life and balance in their life, whether it be in the physical or spiritual or financial. Most people, if they will admit to themselves, if one part of their life is out of balance, but the others are in balance, what do they spend most of their time thinking about?
The part that's out of balance.
The part that's out of balance.
Right.
If you're like me 2.5, 3 years ago and you're on vacation with your family, walking 5 feet behind your family on your phone doing business, and you wake up thinking about money, you think about money all day long, and you think about money going when you go to sleep, you're probably not very happy.
Right.
You can have happy moments, but your overall attitude and personality will start to crumble.
Right.
And when I started having those, it wasn't that things were bad, life wasn't bad, it just wasn't what I wanted. And what happens when that starts happening? We start affecting our spouse.
Right.
And then we start affecting our children. For me, one child, and I know for you, a child.
Right.
And then we started affecting those who work with us or work for us. And then it's just a domino effect.
Right.
And it's one of the hardest things, whether it's in apartment flipping or life, we know there's a problem. And I use this example, I use a picture of mold in the corner. If you have mold in the corner of your house or your apartment that you're getting ready to flip, if you just leave that alone and ignore it, will it go away?
Nope. Probably going to grow.
Probably going to grow because there's a problem that's causing that.
Right.
Yes, there's mold, but there's something that's also causing that. So the sooner we figure out what it is, dig it out, and fix it, what happens when we're done with that job, what happens? All that thought, all that stress, all that goes away. So we know that when we need to mow our yard or we need to fix our roof line, something around our house, we know that. But we are so slow to change in our personal lives.
Right.
But we'll do it for other people. We'll tell others or we'll do it around our house because we're fearful of the change.
Right.
We're not happy where we are, but we're scared about getting over here to where we want to be.
Right.
So we just almost rather stay where we are.
Yeah. And a lot of times it really does help tremendously to have that outside person to be the one to show you kind of what others are seeing, and then to help you kind of go in that right
So
direction.
it's a process, and it's called, depending on various places, but I call it the law of process. There's a way you do things. You and I would look pretty funny if we were sitting here with our undies on the outside of our pants, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I mean, we probably look funny anyway sitting here, but because there's an order to do things. If you're going to build a house, you don't build the roof first.
Right.
You don't even build the foundation first, you buy the land.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So there's a law of process to everything we do. And so I help people understand that, most of the time the unique thing is they already know what they should be doing. I knew what I should be doing. I knew I should, make the focus, in my relationship with God, but then my relationship with my family should be first in my life.
Right.
But business had taken over. And so I'd gotten out of balance.
Right.
And I knew what I needed to do, but it helped that I had someone encourage me to push me along to ultimately hold me accountable.
Gotcha. Nathan, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And the link that you mentioned, it's at the bottom of this page, and it's also at the end of this video. So you can just simply scroll down to the bottom, click that link, go to Nathan's website. You can learn more about him and the various services he has to offer, and we highly encourage you to do so. Thank you again for sharing your story with us, and we wish you great success.
Thank you, Ken, very much. I enjoyed being with you today.
Glad to have you. Thank you again for tuning in to Piedmont Business Live. We'll see you again next time.